So I You're welcome the two most learned and experienced authors. So they are Dr. Swati and Vikram Bhagwat. So Dr. Swati is a principal at Tripura College of Social Work who recently was recognized as a college with potential for excellence. So she also writes books, over 250 articles. Isn't that huge? And also two books on poetry as well. And in conversation with Vikram sir, he is the co-founder and director of Sujan Dreams Private Limited, a digital production house which has published so far 1,000 ebooks and 200 audiobooks. He also loves to travel different countries and cities. He also has written for many TV serials like Ek Shunya Shunya, Khaki, etc. He also is a member of Film Writer Association. There's a lot to learn from you, sir, ma'am. So I welcome you, Dr. Swati and Vikram
Thank you.
Bhagwat.
Thank you.
Over to you.
Very good morning to all of you. And at the beginning only, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me and for giving me the opportunity to interact with one of my favorite writers, that is Vikram Bhagwat. He is an eminent writer, no doubt about it. He has been writing in different forms also. Like he has successfully written drama. He has successfully written serials, novelist, and poets. He has written poems also. So welcome, sir, and we would like to hear more from you instead of talking me about the topic. I just want to say that whenever we talk about writers, and particularly women writers, there are issues, and there is a kind of feeling that she doesn't experience the kind of freedom the male authors enjoy. And if we go in history, we have authors like Virginia Woolf, who had written the very sentence you had picked as a title for this session. She had written lot many essays, and her writing is also understood as feminist writing, sir. So my first question to you, Vikram, why have you chosen this particular line, that room of her own?
Okay. Good morning to everybody, and thanks for having me in this wonderful session. At the outset, can we free this topic of gender?
Okay.
Because freedom is not only related to women for articulation.
Yeah.
We have faced problems with male authors also over the freedom of articulation.
Yeah.
But of course, the problems faced by women writers are of different magnitude. We will talk about it. Now, why I selected this topic?
Yes.
And I would like to read from Virginia Woolf's essay, to start this session with.
Right.
It's
please.
a small passage.
Yeah.
And please hear carefully. I hope everybody can hear me.
Yeah.
To have lived a free life in London in the 16th century would have meant for a woman who was poet and playwright a nervous stress and dilemma which might well have killed her. Had she survived, whatever she had written would have been twisted and deformed, issuing from a strained and morbid imagination. It was a relic of the sense of chastity that dictated anonymity to women even so late as in the 19th century. Theodore Bell, George Eliot, George Sand, all the victims of inner strife as their writing proved, sought effectively to wield themselves by using the name of a man. Thus they did homage to the convention, which if not implanted by the other sex was liberally encouraged by them. Into bracket, the chief glory of a woman is not to be talked of, said Pericles, himself a much talked about man, that publicity in women is detestable. Now, this is where the situation was, and this essay came to my notice very recently. And I have found that in today's India, It is very relevant.
Yes, obviously. I mean,
Yeah.
the
And,
situations are the same.
Yeah, because we
Almost
are
same.
in any case 100 or 150 years behind the world.
Right.
Many issues. So because of the internet revolution, we at least now are aware
Yeah.
that there are platforms which cannot be exploited by writers freely. And I wanted to highlight this entire issue in today's session, that a freedom to a writer is not gifted.
Yes.
Yeah, nobody bestows freedom on him.
Yeah.
Writer has to achieve that freedom to express fearlessly. And by end of this session, I will be driving towards that particular point, that many writers in today's India also in literature have expressed themselves freely, but is what we are going to talk about.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Is it that, like, when we talk about taking the freedom and going ahead, moving ahead, and expressing oneself, isn't it that the society also has a role? And can we say that a writer is living in a vacuum? Can a writer live in vacuum? And how is the influence of the society which is there?
Agree. And this is a very pertinent question. And of course, a writer doesn't live in vacuum. But let us define the vacuum, or let us define the society per se.
Right.
And we have many societies within a society which a writer deals with. Yeah?
Right.
And I would like to decompartmentalize that slowly.
Okay.
Like a writer lives in a home. He takes birth from a father and mother, and he is attached to his family by cultural values, by family values, by social values. And I think right from beginning, he is taught what is good, what is bad. And his definitions of good and bad are most of the time for a child, they are inherited from his parents. And this parent
obviously
circle is also bigger one, not only father and mother, because most of the time small children, they hear stories from grandma, grandfather. So values are also transmitted from that point, right? Then as he grows, he goes to the school, and his society increases in the circumference.
Right.
Now he meets many different children coming from different cultural values, different cultural backgrounds, different environments. And then he or she, and I'm not talking again, when I say writer, I'm talking about both the genders.
A human being. Yeah.
Absolutely. And they also meet different set of values. And now a conflict arises in her or his mind. That now I have been told that giving alms to a beggar, is something which accrues you kind of blessing from the God.
Yeah.
So he stays, as soon as he says, he feels as a humanity that he should give alms.
Naturally.
Then he says a different boy or girl who refuses to follow that. And she said, no, I will not give any alms because everybody has to work.
Yes.
Everybody has to work for his
and
living.
that is also true.
And that is
That
what
is also
I was
true.
told in my family. This is the value I inherited from my family.
Yeah.
Right? Now, there is a conflict. And the boy or girl gets into a dilemma. What is the right value? Then, as he goes to the college. Now, college is a different set of words altogether.
Actually.
Yeah, the entire, and second, his age or her age, they are almost going into youth.
Yes.
Yeah? There are transformations which are physiological, and there are transformations which are psychological.
Yes.
And while facing all these transformation conflicts, they also deal with value conflicts. Because for the first time, they really feel the presence of second sex. Either girl feels a boy or boy feels a girl.
Yeah.
And now we should also talk about third sex.
Yes, obviously. Obviously.
Yes, because
Obviously.
we cannot exclude that third sex.
Yes,
Which
yes.
is very
Other
important.
sex. Other
sex.
than this. Yeah.
Absolutely. Queer sex.
Yeah.
So, and I'm going to talk about queer politics later on.
Sure.
Yeah? Now,
sure.
These things create a problem. Yeah.
Hmm.
There are attachments.
Hmm.
There is a question of integrity with the group.
Yes.
Yeah. So while getting absorbed in the group, there is always a conflict of values. And few values you have to give up, new values you have to absorb. But can we discuss this within our family?
Yeah, that's
Most
another
of the
question.
young people find it difficult to bring these issues to their parents, and these remain in their mind.
Yes.
Then, after graduation, either they go for post-graduation or they find a job.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
If they go to a post-graduation, issues are different. If they get absorbed into an organization, there's a organizational value which also they start absorbing.
Yes.
And they find a lot of differences, conflicts there.
Yeah.
Now, basic conflict that they see in the society as they grow out and step out is the corruption.
There are many actually.
Corruption, not only financial. Corruption in
moral.
I'll complete. Corruption in total sense. The values get corroded. There is a financial corruption because in India, we generally are not ready to wait. We want everything served immediately. Instant.
Yes.
Yeah. And then because you're not ready to wait, because you feel there is a paucity of time, and somebody wants to exploit, you start corrupting yourself.
Oh.
Now you already compromise one value which you have inherited, that Satyam Priyat. You must speak truth, you must stand for it, and you should not talk lie.
But there is another saying also, Satyam api apriyam ma bruyat. Means
exactly.
even if it is true, yes, that is the compromise. Right.
I will never advocate.
Right.
You can take shelter under that. Yes. Because if two mistakes don't make one correct. When Dharma or Krishna has said that, doesn't mean that it is a kind of preaching for your values life.
Actually.
You should judge for yourself that now this is the right human value by which I am going to live. Yes. So society is impacting you, marginalizing you a little bit. You are trying to impact society depending on personal strength.
Yes.
Sometimes it is possible. You can stop something happening on the road while you are going. An old man wants to cross the road and nobody is willing to help.
Yeah.
And vehicles are passing. So you stop, hold that hand and help him cross over.
Yes.
Now this is something which you have displayed for everybody else to see and take a lesson from you.
Yes.
That please help people who are in need. Right?
Yes.
So these are the things which actually happen subconsciously, sometimes consciously, and start impacting you. If you are in a writer field or you are a creative field, then you start absorbing, assimilating, and then processing this information within you. Once you start processing this information within you, you reach certain conclusion. And then once you reach certain conclusion that no, what I have done is wrong or what others are doing are wrong, you try to build a story, a narrative, to tell that particular story which gives higher value system to the readers. Now, how this relationship is built in. Before that, basically I am a storyteller. So I must tell you one story now.
Yes.
There was a big convention in Mumbai. Huge. And people from all over Maharashtra had come there to attend.
Okay.
It was a one-day session. And then in the evening, everybody was returning. This story took place at Dadar station.
Oh.
A woman was trying to board a local train. And she was molested.
My God.
By the crowd.
On the station or in the
On the
train?
station, while she was trying to board the train, she was molested. Now she was humiliated.
Yes, obviously.
Any woman will feel extreme humiliation because she has been violated.
Yes.
And you can't do this to a woman. So
to anybody,
give
I
vent
think.
to her, to
Yes.
give vent to her feelings, she made a post on social media that this is what happened with me today.
Oh.
And the amount of trolling that she had to face.
Trolling?
Was among us.
My God.
That ultimately she had to withdraw that post.
Oh.
Now, this is a huge sensor which is working, which is external. You never see this sensor.
Right, right.
Yeah. And
so
she was
censor
told
from the society. Censor from the
and
society.
this is nothing to do with caste.
Mm.
It is nothing to do with religion. It is basically a man and woman. And a man feels that in a crowd, anywhere, his power is such that he can violate a woman. And she wanted to protest against that. And those who actually told her were all men.
Yeah.
And
so
this is the situation as on today. Yeah. And why she must have withdrawn? Now there are two factors. One, there was nobody to give her that moral support that we stand by you. Please don't withdraw this post.
Right.
Or on the contrary, pressure from her family must have been there.
Yes.
That we don't get involved into these kind of things. Let us not get into this brawl and forget it. You withdraw this post.
Yeah.
In a sense, what we do is that we tell a person that 12-inch foot is not 12-inch, accept that it is 10-inch.
Yes.
Or accept that it is 6-inch. And
so
proceed, because we have to
to
buy peace.
Oh, that's
and that buying of peace compromises you completely.
Right,
and literature also, same thing happens. That most of the time we try to avoid confrontation.
Okay.
And by peace, because we need to face so many factors within the house, outside the house, your readers, they have their own cultural values. And then your question, whether we live in a vacuum as a writer,
Yes.
is answered. That we don't live in a vacuum, we live in group, we live in society, and yet we have to maintain our self-respect, identity, and we have to stand up above the normal benchmarks.
Right. So then next question which crops up is that why is it that some writers, for example, if I may quote Taslima Nasreen's name, or other people who had experienced lots of censorship from society, but still they continued writing whatever they wanted to. And what is the difference? How? And my next question also is that, is the society same for both? I mean, although we are not saying that gender doesn't make difference for a writer, but is it that the societal censorship, in context to the narration you have just given, is it differently affecting women and men?
Okay, that's a good question. Let me take it. Taslima Nasreen is a very contemporary writer.
Yeah.
I will go much earlier period in Maharashtra.
Okay.
You can take example of Kanupatra.
Oh, yes.
And she was a
Kanupatra.
Yeah, Saint Kanupatra.
Yeah.
She was a rebellion. She stood by her all the direction of love for Vithoba.
Yes.
And her love of Vithoba was absolutely transcendental. It was beautiful.
Yes.
And she wrote about it fearlessly, even though she was criticized.
Yes.
My point here is, limited point here is that we have to rebel, but rebellion has got a price tag.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. That, as I said earlier, that nobody bestows freedom on you. Freedom of expression. You have to earn it.
Yeah.
You have to demand. You can demand it. But if that demand is not fulfilled, you just take it.
Yes.
And write what now? The rider to this is that you must have firm convictions. Problem today is that we do not have those firm convictions many a times.
You mean to say
When we want,
confidence?
absolutely. If your thought is different and radical than society's point of view. I will give a small example of Ritupurna Ghosh.
Oh,
Huh?
yes.
I'm a great fan
person.
of him.
Great person. Great human being.
And great filmmaker, great writer also.
Yes, yes.
Huh?
Yes.
And for him to survive, to live at peace with himself, he had to rebel.
Yeah.
And then he paid the price.
Yes, but he was a spokesman.
Initially, he was castigated.
Yes, yes.
He was castigated.
Yes, yes.
Any rebellion will always get castigated. There is a Napoleonic theory which Dostoevsky has written, and I am just going to elaborate on it a little bit.
Okay.
It's not exactly the same.
Okay.
But who can break the law?
How?
Who can break the law? Only one who can set new law.
Oh, great.
So now, if you have to set a new law, you must have firm conviction in what you do. And once you have that firm conviction, you should be ready to pay the price for that conviction. Take, for example, Maharishi Dondopanta Karve. He wrote in those times about family planning.
Yes, yes.
And sex.
Yes.
Yeah. And he was castigated. He was almost isolated in the society.
Yeah.
And he stood by. So why he stood by? Because he firmly believed. He never asked his family whether you will support me or not. He never asked his friends whether you will support me or not. He just stood by his thoughts.
Yes.
And Jyotiba Phule. Take, for example, these are the names which are inspiring Maharashtra.
Yeah.
But have we really taken that inspiration from them? Is a question. Yeah. There are few Marathi authors even today, and I will name them as we end the session.
Okay.
And who have really, really stood by their value systems.
Okay.
And written what they believed in.
Right.
Yeah. So, these are the question that not everybody is a rebellion.
Right.
But those who firmly believe, they stand up and then they become rebellion.
Yeah. So the next question which arises, like you said that one has to be a rebel and then and have to have conviction in one's own thinking and values and whatever you stand by. So you must have conviction in them. That is one aspect. And I think when we talk about the process of writing and coming to the writing itself,
correct.
Characterization or portrayal of the character or using the sentences or using some words. I mean, is it affected by the social taboos or censorship or freedom we experience, or how would you
okay. Generally, there are certain ground rules laid down by the society, what a woman can say and what a man can say.
Yes. Yes, that is the actual point.
This is extremely pathetic,
yes.
I tell you.
Yes.
A woman and man, when they write, cannot think differently about their characters.
No, this is something, I mean, more elaboration, please. Yeah.
Let me complete.
Yeah.
Character thinks of itself. You cannot force your thinking on the character that I am a woman, so you should think like this.
Right, right.
Or I am a man, so you should think like this. No, character has its own freedom. Suppose my character comes from slum area.
Okay.
Now, a slum area character, how it will speak? Can that character speak or develop or behave like the one who has grown up in a middle class family? With middle class so-called cultural restrictions?
No, certainly
because
not.
Their life is so open. Yeah, they see all kind of humiliations. Yeah, their basic needs are also not met. So slang comes very naturally to them because that is what they hear all the time.
Yes.
From childhood. So their language is in a way enriched. And I'm using the word quote unquote enriched very, very responsibly. Because that is how it is populated. Their vocabulary is populated by the society around them.
Yes.
Now, if I'm writing about that slum character, I will have to really learn that language of that slum character.
Yes.
And otherwise, if I start writing that about that character like Vikram Bhagwat, who also uses slang very naturally, which everybody knows, but suppose I'm not accustomed to that kind of language, then if I write that particular in a very pure middle class language, the character will fall flat.
Yeah, and it is injustice to the character also.
Exactly. And it is nothing whether the writer is male or female. Many times female writers will think differently. I said that is cock and bull. That is absolute bullshit. Don't give me that. When a writer writes, he has to write from character's perspective and not whether he is a female or she is a female or he is a male. No, they have to write from the character's
perspective of the character.
Exactly, because how that character will behave.
Right.
Noted writer Sneha had laid very good ground rules about it. That please do not interfere in your character's life as a writer. Stand apart. Let the character live its life.
Yes.
Okay. So I have answered your question. That
yes.
There is no question of interfering with this because
Agreed.
you're a male or because you're a female. No.
Yes. So it is something like Parakaya Pravesh, where you enter the person and personality and then you try to translate it to the readers. So sometimes you refer to the point like we have different realities. And a person or a writer has to deal with all such realities. So would you like to add to it some...
Now you're talking about realities from which perspective? I don't know.
For example, the person may be different in different context. A same person in different situations would react differently.
Actually, this is fundamentally a contradiction. Yeah. Normally, I expect any writer who believes in certain values and brings those values on the table while writing. In life, if he is not able to maintain those values, then what he has written loses the depth.
Okay.
So I am extremely concerned when people take social stance, social positioning when they are writing. Yes. I generally don't take such social positions. Samajik Bandhirki, as they call it on many platforms.
Right.
I do not accept that. The writer doesn't have to have that.
Yes.
But writers should maintain certain beliefs. Now, suppose I'm talking about no caste, no barriers of caste. And if I maintain those barriers of caste in my personal life, it's gone.
Yes. That's what I mean to say.
Like, will never have any value.
Yeah. So a person is different.
Certain basic values which I totally believe in. I am a secular.
Yes.
I don't have to declare that to the entire world. Yeah. But my characters are invariably secular. If I respect a woman, then the respect for woman transcends into my writing. Yeah. And I cannot justify molestation of a woman or a rape of a woman. Yeah. And then these differences should not occur. What I believe in, I should try to live as much as possible and in fact, not as much as possible, because once you say as much as possible, you start grading.
It is subjective.
It is not subjective.
How?
You have to. If you write against corruption, please do not get involved into corrupt practices.
Walk what you talk.
Yeah, exactly. Walk the talk.
Yes. So when we talk about men and women and their reactions to it, I am reminded of Nali Leli Patre. Nali Leli Patre has about readership from say 49 countries at present. And when we went into the statistics, what we saw it is a page. I must say, I must tell to the viewers that Nali Lali Patra is a page which was started by Vikram, and now when we analyze the statistics, we see that there are about 20% of readers who are women and 80% are men. I mean, the fan following is more from men. And when we analyze the writers, we see it differently. Like there are more contributors, female contributors than the male contributors. So I am amazed at this statistics. And why is it that
these statistics as unwritten letters is a page which was
unwritten.
created to actually foster letter writing.
Right.
But that's apart. Let us bring that topic to our
today's topic,
topic.
because more
exactly.
and more women are writing.
Exactly.
Yes.
And why?
Yes.
Yeah, because social media has made available a certain platform. Yeah, and up till now, women never had this platform, especially those who were living in rural Maharashtra. Because the page is in Marathi, naturally, only women who could speak and write in Marathi were in touch.
Right.
And most of the writers were from rural Maharashtra. And they started expressing their issues through letter series.
Right.
Yeah. And men, I don't know whether they were fan or not, but again, it was a need to read what women are expressing.
Oh.
So I don't know whether they were fan or not, but
okay.
they were
the readers,
interested
they
in
are
knowing what women are expressing.
Right.
Because up till now, women had not expressed so feeling.
Yes.
Yeah. And those letter series brought certain women issues in front of everybody. And that is the correlation with our today's topic, that women need certain... Now,
space.
Again, I must make elaborate little point here, is that you can ask a woman to be free of fear, but you should also enable that.
Right.
Now, this enabling sequence can happen in the family. If it doesn't happen, then socially it should be made available.
Right.
That please come, this is a platform, nobody is going to troll you, you will be defended. And I want to remind you of your own story. When you wrote about a story of a farmer who committed suicide.
Mutmati you are referring to.
The picture of a woman, his wife, who didn't commit suicide, but she pointed out to him that he not only has wasted his life, he has wasted her life also.
Yes.
Because the faith in social norms, like his sister was getting married, so he had to borrow loan. Why? Why borrow loan and celebrate a marriage? She was again appealing, and ultimately that loan get into a complete exactly, and then he commits a suicide, and she has to now take the family on her in her hand, support the family, do the farming, and she does it. So even that story, when we published, it was hugely controversial.
Trolled. Actually.
And the issue of a woman putting up a fight was left aside. When this is what happens, that people take advantage of certain issues. And that they brought it everything to farmer suicide. So the story was not about farmer suicide. The story was about a woman suicide.
Actually.
A woman deciding to put up a fight.
And new enlightenment.
Right, exactly. So these are the issues which happen, and history of a society takes 1,000 years to change.
Yes.
We should not expect miracles. In those days, Rabindranath Tagore wrote about women.
Actually.
The
characters. All his characters, women characters particularly.
I will complete. Chaurulata. She was in love. She was in love with her husband as much as she was in love with her friend.
Yes.
And this can happen to a woman.
Yes.
This is not a stigma. At the same time, he wrote Chokherbani. Binodini's entire suppressed feelings, sexual feelings. And he wrote very wonderfully about them.
Yes, and those days.
Ritu Purna brought them to the screen very well.
Yes.
Yeah.
One point I would like to make here is when Rabindranath Tagore was writing, and particularly female characters, Brahmo Samaj and all those emancipation movements and Renaissance, we can say, that must have influenced his thinking also, no? And
I think it's the other way around.
huh.
Fundamentally, Rabindranath Tagore gave a woman which was residing in him to
Oh,
talk.
oh.
See,
So all of us.
we all have various instincts within us. A man does have a woman within him. A woman does have a man within her.
Yes,
And
anima,
Rabindranath
animus.
Tagore allowed, right from Kadambari,
Yes,
he
yes.
allowed the woman to really evolve in his mind and was never for Ghare Bhaire.
Yeah.
See, the film which was shot by, the novel is wonderful and film was shot by Satyajit Ray.
Yes.
And there we see that she feels attracted to a man. And this attraction was very natural. And then she also realizes that she cannot actually go beyond certain point.
Right.
So you have to understand is that there are various instincts and value systems within us, but we have to be true to the character.
Yes.
And we also allow character to blossom.
That's great.
Freedom.
A space. We come to the point again, isn't it? The sentence with which we started, a room of one's own, isn't it? My last question would be...
I must say that room of one's own was completed more in a one sentence by Virginia Woolf. And there she was more gender specific. And she said that if a woman wants to write a fiction,
right. That's why it was
she
having
must
that
have
context.
money. And she must have room of her own.
Yes.
Now, this is a metaphor.
Yeah.
And you have to understand this metaphor.
Yeah. Right.
That money gives her a freedom, independence. Yeah. Otherwise, which she has to look up to the seniors, husband, father, or whoever is the head of the family to support her financially. And once you ask for somebody's financial support, you also sacrifice your freedom there.
Right.
Yeah. And then room of one's own is the privacy that any creative person needs.
Actually.
You cannot have commotion around you. You need certain privacy in which to write, and nobody is looking over your shoulders what you're writing.
Censorship should not be there.
Problem is that looking over your shoulder continuously. I have come across authors, female authors, who have to give their mobile phones to their husbands in the evening. To check.
My God.
Can you believe this?
No.
And this is the pathetic situation, and this is the cultural corrosion.
Yes.
In our society. That trust is not there.
Yes.
That trust is not there. That freedom is not there. And we have to start from today.
Yeah.
I think, Swati, it's almost 11:30 now, or 11:33.
Right.
I would like to take questions because 11:40 our session ends. So I would like to take questions if there are there.
Okay.
Anybody wants to ask questions? Please.
Here is one. That is from... Would you read it?
Actually, we were thinking if we could have the viewer directly
asking the questions.
Yes. So Nilima ma'am, I would request you to kindly speak. I'll just unmute you and you can directly talk to Bhagwat sir.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah.
My question is, reader expects more from the author. You know, like author should not write like this and this. What do you think? Hello.
Yes, we are audible.
No, because my screen reader speaks.
No. I'm able to hear you, Nilima. I'm able to hear you.
What do you think about the author? Do you think author should also expect some more things from the reader? And if so, then what are your expectations from the reader, from your readers?
Okay. And some simple answer to this question is that author has to create his readership.
Audience and...
Audience, or we call it. Yeah?
Yes.
Now, I will again go back to example of Rituparna Ghosh. Rituparna Ghosh never sold Poverty of Calcutta. He was not interested in that. He was interested in putting a very clear problems faced by a domestic middle class family on the board. That means his problems were of drawing hall, kitchen, or bedroom. He never went outside that. And then he identified his audience as Bhadralok, middle class of Calcutta. And he started addressing them.
Right,
Now,
right.
for them also, queer politics was very difficult to digest initially. But he persisted. He never accepted any censorship or any castigation by the audience or by the government that we. No. He fought for his freedom and he retained his freedom. So author should create his own readership and also fight tooth and nail for his freedom of expression.
Yes. There
I
is
think-
question. Yeah, you have answered.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, there is one interesting question from Shruti Padhe. Can we connect to her?
Yes, should I say it out
Yeah,
loud?
please.
I've put it
Please,
on the
please.
chat box.
Yeah, it's very interesting question. Please.
So a story usually contains multiple characters, and
Yeah.
mainly a story may have an antagonist and a protagonist. And usually, when a writer writes a story, the writer can relate the most to the protagonist, and the antagonist has usually opposing views or opposing morals. But when you're writing a story, you only believe in one particular thing. So how is it that you authentically write characters and, in general, their personalities when you don't believe in what their thoughts are?
Yes.
Okay, excellent question. I have always dealt with this, and
Dilemma.
my novel contains extreme bad people and extreme good people. And if you want to read, you can read Lut, where a most perverted guy is painted very clearly.
Yes.
And I always say that demons also reside in us. Yeah, as not as much as good, as much as bad is part of us. And we, as good human beings, try to control them, are able to restrain bad things and highlight good things. But they are within us. Secondly, if you want to paint black, can you paint it on black? No, you have to paint it on white. If you want to paint white, you cannot paint it on white only. Either you have to use gray or use black or dark shades. So fundamentally, this question author has to handle and has to love his antagonist and also protagonist. He cannot say that I hate antagonist and I will never give flesh and blood to it. Then your protagonist falls flat. Yeah. So you have to give flesh and blood to both the characters. This is an art. Yeah. You have to get under the skin of the character. An antagonist is also a person, a human being. And he has reasons why he has become the way he has become. You have to understand, nobody just drops from the sky. Yeah. So all bad characters have motives. And if you understand from where they are coming, you are able to place them out properly on your page.
You mean to say you are not validating their thinking, but at the same time, you are portraying them as they are.
Yeah. See, validation, I don't even validate good people.
Yes.
I just put my characters on the paper. Who am I to validate?
Actually, judgmental we cannot be.
A writer is not a judge.
Yes.
A writer should never take a position of a judge. And judge is a bad writer. So he should not get into the business of writing. He can write judgments, but he cannot write fiction.
Yes, fictions cannot be. But experience narration is there.
Yeah. But they see, judge writes within the Indian Penal Code.
Yes.
He has been told, according to Indian Penal Code, this is good and this is bad.
Judgments.
But this guy doesn't know beyond that. And truth lies far beyond the practical life.
Yes. I think it has been interesting interaction here. And if there are more questions or interaction, we would have one or two, and then otherwise we give concluding. So thank you.
Before we move on, I would like to thank Vikram sir for being kind enough to joining us and sharing such a sensitive and an important topic about the gender biases when we talk about writers, and pointing out to the most important thing of the freedom that a writer should enjoy, and not be constantly constrained with censorships or even societal views or prejudice. So thank you so much, sir, for putting
Thank
out
you.
this idea so well. And thank you, Swati, ma'am, for facilitating this conversation and, of course, giving your views on the same. It was
Thank you
interesting
so
for
much.
both of you. And
Thank you so much.
yes, thank you once again.
Thank you. Thanks for having
Thank
me.
you. Thank you.